monitoring and evaluation gives us the opportunity to collect and analyse and interpret the views and perceptions of students, parents and teachers. And one of the things that we've particularly encouraged in the National Partnership is to find out what their views are and how we can engage them better and how we can collaborate and co-lead programs with them in our schools. We can mine data and we can say what we think our kids are good at, and we can say what we think we can do better at, and we can see what we need to maintain. But being good at monitoring and evaluation also helps us to understand what it is we can do to further develop the skills and abilities of our teachers. We want to know the best way to allocate the resources, whether they're financial or teaching and learning resources or classroom teachers themselves. What's the best way to have impact on improvement of student learning, and how do we go about that? What I see as the key questions around school evaluation and monitoring, but in particular in our low SES national partnerships, and they are these. How are you going to answer the questions about what is it that you said you were going to do in terms of planning, and did you actually do that? And how well did you say you were going to do it, and did we actually achieve it? Those key questions need to be in your mind right through the process of planning, implementation, monitoring and evaluation. The other thing that we talk about in conversations with schools through the low SES is about alignment, and I guess this is a challenge again for schools to make sure that we can draw a line through the data sources we get, through to the planning and strategies we implement, and then to being able to determine if we've met our targets. So are we collecting the right information? From that information, do we draw the right conclusions? Have we chosen the right strategies to get impact? Have we set the right targets? Do our indicators actually monitor that progress and success? Have we done the right things in revising our school plans? And are we going back and monitoring our progress and achievement regularly? There's great work happening in all our regions around the National Partnership. We've highlighted Hunter Central Coast today. The work that they've done in Hunter Central Coast in putting a local context to the things that have been developed centrally, the way that they help schools to access MSAD resources and low SES school resources that we've developed and put them into the context of what's working in schools in Hunter Central Coast. And it's a really important way of moving the materials and the intellectual property onto schools in terms of saying, we've got some systemic information, we've got some systemic resources, and this is how they're best reflected in the local context. I just want to give a very quick overview of the target setting process. I know you do that in your schools, and I know regions are doing great support of schools both on the partnership and for all schools. Your school development officers in your regions, and you're going to hear from one from Hunter Central Coast shortly, are the ones that can provide that expert advice about the best ways of setting targets that make sense for your school. And I guess just the overview of your targets is a checklist which that the target focuses the school on improvement, that it's a final indicator of success of the outcomes that you've tried to set for your school, and that there is some numerical measure in that target that we can actually determine numbers of students, proportions of students or groups in reaching some sort of standard. That the data we talk about in terms of setting our target is actually available, and it's something that we're going to be able to access to determine if we've been successful, and that the target's clear and precise. In terms of strategies, we want to make sure that the strategies we choose are feasible and can be sustained, that the strategies will be able to support the meetings of our targets, and this is when we go back to that notion of alignment, that we've set targets, we've put in place strategies that will help us work towards achievement of those targets, and that we've got indicators or signposts along the way of what helps us, so that the achievement of the strategy can be measured, that the strategies can be easily understood within the school community, and importantly for national partnership schools, that our strategies are linked to the 6 reforms of the partnership quite explicitly, because there's a line between the work we're doing in terms of the strategies, the targets we're setting, and the allocation of the resource. And finally, I'm just going to quickly visit the notion of our indicators. And our checklist for our indicators is the notion that they are milestones or signposts along the way, that meeting the target's our ultimate indicator, and that in the end they've got to be measurable, observable. I often talk to schools about a focus on outcomes and not inputs, and I think it's a really important way of moving forward and being really clear about our progress and achievements.